Hey there, lady. On today's episode, I have two lovely guests, my best friend Sam and her husband Ross. Sam is the owner of Wild Rose Witch, where she crafts herbal magic and offers intuitive readings rooted in ritual and ancestral wisdom. Together, they have been married for over a decade, and I recently gave Sam a relationship reading and a human design reading for her birthday. Today, we're going to discuss their experience when watching their relationship reading and explore their emotional authority and emotional waves, such as what it actually looks like to navigate big feelings, big decisions, and a partnership when you understand the wave you're both riding. This conversation is about what happens when you have a new language for something you've always felt but you couldn't name. Hi, guys. I'm so happy to have you here. This is really going to be fun.
Hi, Molly. What's going on?
Just enjoying the morning and the pre-chat before we hit record. It was great. So before we get started, what have you guys been up to lately before we really dive in?
I've been heavy in the garden, getting things planted and figuring out where things are going to go and just enjoying the spring.
Spring's been really nice in Nebraska, so I've been able to get out with my dad a lot. He's my golfing buddy. Get out, hit the links. He's got surgery coming up in about a month, so we're trying to hit it as hard as we can. Get outside, enjoy it, get in the garden a little bit, and then hang out with a little stinky boy over there in the window, a little kitty cat.
Yeah. If Ash wants to make an appearance, that's totally fine. Because he is going to be our first cat on the podcast. I bet he can hear me right now, and he's like, "What is that woman talking about?"
Who said you could talk to me right now?
He's straight up ignoring you. Oh no, he just looked over at us.
What gives you the right to speak my name? Oh, he's pissed.
No, seriously, that is the energy that he gives off. Like when I come visit you guys in a few weeks, I cannot wait for him to ignore me. And
Same. That's just every day. That's what we
all
live in.
right, well, I'm glad that you guys are enjoying your spring as well as spending time together with me in this recording for exploring so much about this reading between you two. So before the reading, how did you two talk about your emotions in a relationship? And now that you've learned more about human design, what has changed in how you communicate or engage with each other?
Yeah. We've always been fairly open
Like so.
with emotions. I think that there's definitely been a lot of struggles. A lot of therapy has helped, especially on my part. But I feel like this has helped us to, for me, it has helped me to see my own individual actions, when arguments are happening or things are happening. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why am I so dramatic? And then I'll be like, oh, the human design is like, oh no, you're not crazy. You have a lot of emotions.
I've had a couple of blow up fights around holidays when stress levels are high. It happens. I grew up in a family who, when we were in high school, Ash was being a naughty boy. When I was in,
bring him over.
When I was in high school, we went to therapy as a family, and it was very much a part of my raising. It was like, speak about emotions. Oh my God, yeah. Speaking of emotions, he's letting his be known right now. Oh boy, oh boy. One more. Can you get one more for? Yep, one more for audio. No. Okay. So
This is great.
I grew up, and it was very important that we don't, suppress, we don't push things down. And I still fall subject to that trap all the time.
Right.
But this reading really helped validate, I think, a lot of the emotions that we feel, and it's going to help us discuss those better. Even though I feel like we're pretty good at it, it's going to make it a lot easier going forward.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and that's a wonderful thing to note too, of the things that you guys have done before, to really not only work on yourself, but also how that contributes to the relationship and how that not only drives awareness, but how you can communicate with yourself, so you're not necessarily putting yourself in a downward spiral, thinking something's wrong with you, and having that validation for self is great. And then being able to take that and be like, oh yeah, I see how this pops up in our relationship. That reflection is super important. On a personal note, that's why I love human design, because then I can go back and be like, oh yeah, I see that in myself, and I can see it here and I can see it there, and that's great, but then that sucks. So it's always something available for us to work on. Before we get too far into the discussion, just want to let everybody know here. So Sam and Ross have their solar plexus defined, which is what makes them have an emotional authority and have emotional waves. So if you haven't listened to previous episodes 145 and 146 about the 9 centers, you can go back and listen to those and learn more about the solar plexus. Overall, each center has a theme, and the theme for the solar plexus is like all about emotions. So this is where we experience passion, desire, different moods, and actually sensitivity. This is where we connect with people or we don't connect with people. So it's a highly creative and expressive center. As for an emotional wave, this is something that is triggered either by the theme of the channel or even of the gates. So this brings out a flood of emotions. So also, depending on the circuitry, these emotions can show up in a variety of ways. There are 3 different types of emotional waves based on circuitry. First, there is individual, which is focusing on self, either through self-empowerment or self-expression. There is tribal, which is being impacted by the relationships and survival of the tribe. And the collective, so that's impacted by the world, humanity, and personal expectations of those. What is wonderful about this episode today is that we will be able to discuss all 3 in real life experiences and relationships, because Ross has a collective wave, Sam has 2 tribal, and 1 individual. And yes, I just mentioned Sam have 3 emotional waves. So Sam and Ross, what was it like to hear about each other's emotional waves for the first time? And was there like a moment that you're saying, oh, that explains a lot?
Honestly, learning about every single one made it made things click. I feel like I was pausing the reading like constantly and like letting it sink in, like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Like Ross was talking before about how we always used to talk about like, I'm not in the right headspace is like how we would phrase it.
Yep.
And then the note I put down is like waiting for the right moment to express. So like the energy needs to feel right. And if the energy didn't feel right and we just powered through anyway, it almost always ended up in a blow up fight. Where like, yeah, things were said and
Blow a fight or blow up?
yeah, blow up.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, you're right. Because
sometimes
I would explode and Ross would just be like, okay.
Oh, you're going
for get into where that comes from.
You're going for a drive? Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
It's a lot of like, I gotta get out of here. I'm gonna go drive till I can calm down. And then with Ross's wave, there's also just a ton of things that made sense. Some of the things that I kind of noted is like there's a lot of times where he's doing things that he doesn't want to do, but he feels pressure to do it. He doesn't want to disappoint people.
Yeah.
He like everybody who meets you is like, let's be friends, and you're like, okay.
Maybe. I think I'm okay.
No,
I think I say okay to everybody who's like, do you want to be friends? I'm like, duh, absolutely. I don't know if everybody wants to be my friend.
You have too many friends.
Oh, geez. All right.
That sounds like a podcast part 2, because I know exactly where that comes from. We don't even need to get into that because that's not part of this podcast episode.
Fair. Yeah, no, like one thing that I learned a lot about is through going through years of therapy and feeling like I have a fairly high emotional IQ, realizing there was a big magnifying glass over not knowing when I'm necessarily in a wave, and that was just kind of like that really made me pause a little bit, and I was like, how is that possible? I can pick up on other people's emotions. I'm good about recognizing mine. Then you gave me like, I don't know, 37 different examples about how I disassociate. And I was like, oh shit, she's 100% right. So that was a big glaring throw a highlighter over it, be cognizant about this going forward, because it really makes a lot of sense.
Amazing. And I can't, I'm sorry if I'm smiling because you two are just like how the energy is moving back and forth. It's just always so natural. Like I said, guys, they've been married for over 10 years, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we've been together.
We had a short courtship of 8 years of dating before
Wait,
getting
what?
married. Yeah. Well, I worked fast food, and Sam worked loan servicing and fast food, and we didn't quite have get married bills. But yeah, dated for 8 years, then got married.
We also got together when I was 18.
In 18 and 19.
Where
Yeah,
I was in no rush to get married.
yeah. Samesies. And my family was, but we weren't. So
Typical Midwest. We're totally, we're there.
yeah.
Now this is blowing my mind even more. But that also is because of my own assumption of like when people meet, they just hurry up and get married, like, Brad and I did, and my last previous marriage. So we're just good clearing the air.
Yeah,
wow,
no,
holy crap. So almost 20 years you guys have been together.
it'll be 20 years next year. We've been together now. We've been together more in our lives than we've been apart, which is weird to think about. Over half. Yeah.
Right?
Sam's face. Yeah.
crazy.
Okay.
He doesn't seem that stoked, to be honest about it.
It's just weird. It's wild. Like, you don't think about it, and then all of a sudden you're like, our relationship could drive.
This guy.
Our relationship could be in college.
Yeah. For real. We're
Oh
sophomores.
my God. Okay. So then when we think about that, and Sam was able to give like 30,000 or no, you said 37 examples. That makes sense even because of how long you guys been together. So then Ross, when you heard about Sam having 3 different emotional waves, like what did that open up for you and like how you understand her?
I think you and I both know that Sam is a very emotionally complex person. I think we both know that Sam feels her emotions more fiercely, I think, than almost anybody I know. So it was just more or less validating for me to be like, okay, this makes sense. We've got a bunch of deep wells inside of this one, and exploring those is going to be something I think that's really good for our relationship going forward.
Yeah, of course. And then Sam, hearing that Ross has the most intense or potent channel in the entire human design chart, and that being his emotional wave. How did that change your guys' conversation around emotions or how you hold space for him?
So there's a couple of different things with that. Like a big one is that I realize kind of when maybe I'm like projecting a little bit on him and how much I need to allow him to like go through the emotional wave. Because, like, I understand for me, like, I have to go through the emotions to get to a place where I can move forward. And I think that for him, I would see him disassociating and I would, I don't know, maybe even, like, judge it a little bit and not realize that it's part of, like, the process. He was, getting stuck in a place and, like, he needed to move through that. And I mean, it can be hard because I do feel like often when he's in his emotional wave, I'm also in an emotional wave. And so, it's complicated.
Of course it is. And one thing that you just mentioned about projecting onto Ross, like Ross is a 5-1 profile type, and anybody with a line 5 has a deep well of I don't even really want to, what's the one term that I had for this before? It's like you want to be close to other people, but you know that people are going to judge you and project things onto you, whether that's good or bad. And they don't really see you for who you are sometimes. And people want to force their expectations onto you. And some of them you want, but others you don't. And so you end up like having to live standards that really aren't yours. Or you stay in things way too long because you're loving being in the limelight and being a savior. And yes, I see that laugh. That's great.
That's so real.
Part. Yeah. And so like when it's with the emotional wave, it's like the 5 is like, I just want to retreat and like let this process and move it through. And if someone is there projecting of like, well, you're supposed to move through this way, or you should go do that. Like all it does is add complexity and more crappy, shitty emotions into what they're currently feeling. And it could actually push those emotions down and compound them into a way of later on being more of an intense energy exploding, whether that's emotion wise or if that's movement. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I say one other thing?
Of
That
course you can.
I just thought of too, is with all of the emotional waves that I sometimes struggle understanding other people's emotions. And I think in the past I have felt like, oh, everybody needs to be in this well of despair like I am, because I was in the well of despair, and now I'm out, and oh my God, everything's incredible and amazing. And realizing that, like, my emotions are just a little more intense than Ross's. And I don't know, it's just it is like it's a complicated thing. And so I think that there's sometimes where I'm like, I don't really know how to approach this situation, because my experience is so different than like the people around me.
Exactly. And that's normal. So people that have a defined solar plexus experience their own emotions. People like myself, like my husband Brad, we have undefined solar plexus, so we experience everyone else's emotions plus ourselves, but ours are nowhere near intense because we don't have an emotional wave. And what it makes it so difficult for you, Sam, is that you have a combination of individual circuitry. So if something you take personally, which we'll get into that a specific wave, and then anything that's related to your friends, close family, and some shit happens to them, it's all of a sudden it actually happened to you. For Ross, he could be going out about his day and everything's fine. And then there honestly is like a bomb is dropped somewhere across the world, and he can actually not even look at his phone and just feel like this weight of emotions of stuff coming in from the collective, just how he's engaging with everyday people. So, or you can be looking at the news and be really flooded with emotions and having that either be triggered, based off of humanity things, or even just it relating to a personal moment for yourself. Like hypothetically with the strait being closed and oil and gas and all those things all of a sudden impacting like a road trip you were going to take across the country, and now you're like, crap, that's going to cost this much, and now you're going to go into this spiral of things, and having emotional wave like that, something can cause those things. Why are we laughing?
It's true. It's so true.
All right, so here we go. Let me get into, I'm going to have to go back through my notes. Here we go.
No,
Okay.
Molly, when I was going through it, that just bangs home. Like my therapist, one day, he and I were having a conversation. He talking about world events and stuff, because I always felt this urge to be locked in, and I don't follow party lines too often. When I'm taking in media, I want to do it from not a right wing or left wing side. I just want information. Just
Unbiased.
feed me unbiased information. And my therapist was like, "How does it make you feel?" I'm like, "Oh, fucking terrible. I feel like shit all the time." He's like, "Well, stop. Maybe quit doing that, and like go for a walk outside and listen to music or a book." Oh, that's smart advice. Appreciate that. So yeah, you're really hitting the nail on the head, Molly.
Well, real quick though, when your therapist said that to you, I want to ask an either or question. Were you
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, that's a wonderful idea? Or were you like, fuck you, I already thought of that idea and that's not how I'm going to be able to move through my emotions, but thanks.
It was the former. It was like, that's a really good idea. Like
Okay.
my smooth rock hard brain was like, I have to keep locked in. I'm a bad person if I don't do that. And he's like, no, it doesn't invalidate you as a human being, and you can go through your life without having to know the pain of everyone else around you. Like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, that's cool.
Sam, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
thinking, and I don't, maybe this is the wrong time to bring this up, but I'm thinking about when we were in college, and I would have friends come over because they needed to talk about their whatever was happening in their lives. Regularly, it'd hit midnight, and I'd be like, I'm going to bed. And
Oh, no,
Ross would stay up with my friends and talk to them about their lives and give them advice for like hours.
If they wanted
Oh,
advice,
Yeah.
sure.
No,
I've won.
they came in and they asked for advice, but God, it was just like, I was like, okay, you're not listening, I'm leaving. And Ross would be like, no, okay, let's keep going. I can help you.
Okay, I'm gonna say, Ross, that's because you're a 5-1 and because your heart center is undefined.
Okay.
Because fives always want to share their knowledge, their wisdom, and help people. They want to save the day. But the only way that really works is when you're asked, no matter if it's the first line or the second line. So I'm a 3-5. So if no one asks for my opinion, I really need to not share it or ask for advice or whatever. But it's super hard to control when you have so much wisdom of like, oh, I can see what they're doing. I can help them right here. But also, when you do that, because of how you're designed with your undefined heart center, it brings you a lot of value. You feel valuable. You have a huge sense of self-worth. You feel accomplished. Like, look at me, I'm saving everyone, and they love me for it.
I think it's like low-key narcissism, just slightly, just a little
No,
dab
it's
to
not
it.
narcissism. It's not. It's
Tiny
how
bit.
you're designed. And those are the areas of learning how to really be seen for your wisdom and seen for what you say is valuable and what is not.
Okay. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay. So with this, now because we kind of maybe we have not touched on it. Hold on. Actually, we kind of have, but I really still want to ask this question. So, since receiving the reading, have you actually caught yourself in a wave in real time, either on your own or each other's? And what did that look like?
100%.
Okay.
Several times. I mean, because I go through emotional waves like freaking constantly. And there have been several times where I've like texted you or let you know, like, I am in an emotional wave right now. And like in the beginning, I was just like, oh, it's happening. Oh, it's happening. Like, what? And then of course, like, I would tell you and you would be like, okay, what is, like, let's name the emotion. Like, and you helped me to figure out, like, okay, what do we do from that? And yeah, there were several times where like, I was like, okay, Molly would say to name the emotion. I'm going to name the emotion, and I would name it. And then like 20 minutes later, I was like, oh, I'm done. I mean, it was just kind of shocking to me, like, how quickly I could, like, if I just acknowledged it and didn't just like sit in it, or like, become super busy all of a sudden, like, oh, I'm going to do all of these things and I'm just going to ignore the feelings. That just naming it, like, really helped me to, like, yeah, work through it and get to the end of it. And then for him, I don't even know.
Ross.
I don't even know. I don't think that I've said to you, like, oh, you're in an emotional wave. I think I've just like felt it or like noticed it and kind of like it's that meme where like Homer Simpson's going away into the bushes, like,
Bushes. Yeah.
I'm gonna remove myself and allow him to do what he needs to do.
Yeah, I would say I'm not as cognizant as Sam of when I've been trying to be better about checking in with my emotional state and be like, okay, where are we at? How are we feeling? And I haven't felt, I know I probably have, but I don't feel aware or privy to knowing exactly when it started rolling, if that makes sense.
Of course. And so here's the crazy thing about your emotional wave. So like your emotional wave is in your design side, which means it's unconscious. So you would not really see it in yourself until other people point it out. And the reason why Sam knows her emotional waves, especially the 59-6, is because it is on her personality side. So she can see that one coming. But once again, then the 12-22, which we'll get into that as well, it's a combination of them. And then for the 37-40, that's completely unconscious for Sam. So gaining the awareness of being an emotional wave, especially when it's unconscious, can be really difficult. And it might take more time to slow down and be in reflection, which out of all three of us sitting here, I'm the least busy action moving person. Ross, you are the busiest person ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, yeah.
So slowing down makes me feel emotions, and feel emotions is hard. So let's just avoid that. Who needs that?
Sounds like that is number one. I'm going to write it down on what Ross needs to do to work through his emotional wave.
Dang it.
But Sam, you did the cool thing of noting like if you call the emotion like what it is, that's the first step. And then if you can figure out where it is in your body, to have that awareness would be step 2. And the third then is to be like, well, what triggered it? Because then that's going to slowly figure out which wave is really coming and being like, huh, I'm working on this with my therapist this week. Like, yeah, I'll bring this to her and be like, oh, I couldn't express myself because I was at work and XYZ triggered me and da da da. I'm like, either need to stay away from that person or just understand that this topic is not what I want to discuss, or I have a boundary around it, or whatever. So since we've been kind of like talking about the emotional waves, but not really naming them, we're just going to go ahead and get into this a little bit deeper. So I'm going to start with you, Ross. I'm going to describe what your emotional channel is and discuss your wave. And then we'll get into some questions so you can further explore, even though you both have done a really great job so far. So Ross, you have a channel. Actually, hold on. Before I do that, let me actually share my screen, because if people want to, they can actually watch this on YouTube and see the emotional waves that I'm going to be discussing. So this is Ross on this side, and here's Sam on this side. Sorry, I forgot. Ross is on this side, and Sam is on this side. And so we're going to discuss Ross's wave right here, which is from gate 41, which is in the root, up into the solar plexus with gate 30. This channel is called recognition. It has, like I said, gate 41 is called fantasy, and gate 30 is called desire. And sometimes people like to call this channel the channel of the daydreamer. This channel contains the energy that actually starts off the human design new year in late January, and it can be very intense, but also creative. It actually pushes you to create something new and requires you to use a different kind of force than thinking. And since it is intense, you actually, well, you usually burn other people out with your energy, but you can do the same to yourself. Yeah, I know you're laughing. This is great. That's because you need to use this energy correctly, as it makes everything else in your chart really intense or amped up. So now that we've discussed that, like, how does this one channel work as an emotional wave? So emotionally speaking, this wave is a collective wave, and this means it has high highs and low lows. The lows will hit when your expectations of yours are not met and you feel like the world is ending, so you crash. Emotional feelings or sensations include something like nervousness or restlessness that comes from the pressure from the root center. And I will just say, because this is what we just discussed, not wanting to feel your emotions. This is highly typical for you since your root and solar plexus are not connected to any other centers, so the energy has nowhere else to go. This is why you must wait for the right time to express the energy in its correct form, because you are not designed to make decisions in the moment during this emotional wave. Now, once again, like I said, it's collective. So you're going to feel this affected by the humanity at large. You may fantasize and desire something better for humanity, but when that doesn't happen or it doesn't meet your expectations, you're going to fall into that wave. When it exceeds it, you're going to ride like an emotional high, feel like that, you know, like when you run and you have that adrenaline hit, that's what that's going to feel like. Just know that you can also be hit with an emotional wave out of nowhere, even if you're not tapped into things like news or social media, because any of those things can set off your wave. Okay, so before this reading, Ross, did you have a sense of just how intense your emotional energy is, or did it take someone naming it to change something for you?
100% somebody naming it. I always thought that I was Johnny Wallflower in the corner, and no potency, just over there minding my own business. I'm not in your business. You're not in mine. We're chilling. So to hear that that is not the case is, yeah, that seems out of right field, but it makes sense. We talked about, after watching our reading the second time through, about how, I don't know if infectious is the right word, but sometimes I can radiate positive or radiate strong negative waves that can kind of either lift or lower a room's vibe sometimes. So I was
Yeah, Sam, tell us that.
totally unaware of that until it got named. So
It's
thank you.
it's kind of incredible. Like because I've noticed that, you know, about you, but the he had a job where he would be like out and about, and then he'd come back to the location where everybody else was working, and his boss said to him that when he wasn't there, the mood was always bad, and then as soon as Ross came in, everybody was happier. Everybody, and because like you have that ability to just like, yeah, to be happy and like make other people around you happy, and especially like at that time, because the vibes were pretty good at that job.
The vibes were very high at that job. That feels like I'm more powerful than I actually think I am. Or, 'cause I don't believe that all the time necessarily, but yeah, naming it was huge, and it's making me take a secondary look about where I'm at emotionally before diving in with other people.
And like you already explained, like what it was like with your therapist and discussing when you are so checked into what's going on with the world. But can you trace it back to like a low period of something happening in the world specifically rather than it hitting you personally?
Yeah, I mean, not to get too dark or anything, but I remember 9/11 was a very like core memory that I'll have forever, being in Mr. Matthews' reading class with our classmates, and we had that TV that you roll into like it's movie day, sick. And then I'm like, how did a plane accidentally fly into a building? That's crazy. And then just being, I mean, like the rest of the country, super down. That was a really big one. There was a tornado that hit north of Nebraska, northern Nebraska, more recently. And, you know, thankfully there's very, very, very few fatalities. There's a huge, like, decimated an entire town. And I just like spiraled, just lost it. So yeah, things that happen not necessarily to me, but like my community or something that I feel attached to, even though it's not me personally, it can really lift me up. Because on the other side too, like something big that positive happens to the state that I live in or the neighborhood that I'm in, it can really be like euphoric. And then on the other end, when something happens against it, it can be hard and painful.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And when you think about that, like the fear attached to this wave, it kind of, well, for the wave in general, like some gates have fears attached to them, and then it makes the wave have a fear. And so this wave has the fear of fate or destiny, of things just not turning out the way that you've imagined. So when an experience like that happens, or an experience that you're hoping does happen and it doesn't meet your expectations, what does that look like then for you and in your relationship with Sam?
Sorry, I keep smiling because everything you keep saying is like you're inside my head. How does Molly? Can we cuss? I don't. Should I not cuss? How does Molly know all this stuff about?
I already said the F word, and this is
Oh
my podcast, so you should
shit.
know
Okay,
that I would
perfect,
have cuss
perfect.
words.
No, how the fuck does Molly know all this shit about me? Because yeah, I have these in my. I've always defined them as like illusions of grandeur, or like what? Why are you creating this fantasy world that you're failing in? What good is that bringing to your life? But um, I jumped off the edge so quick. I don't even know where. What was the question again, Molly? I got lost in my own.
No, you're great. So it's more or less like, the fear that's associated with this channel is the fear of
Yes.
fate and destiny.
What does that look like? Thank you. It looks like me typically either disassociating hardcore or just like crashing out, just spiraling, going down deeper and deeper, and just like kind of like being like, all right, I'm going down this deep hole and no one's stopping me.
I okay, so I'm as we're talking, there's more things that are coming up. I feel like Ross's waves are like really like his wave is really slow and long,
Yeah.
and mine are like, or some of them are anyway. And so when Ross is can get in that like the downside of that wave, it can be like a long time, and I will sometimes be like, "Are you depressed?" Like because there's been times where like it was like there was a lack of hope for like a long time, and we didn't really know how to come out of that.
Yeah, for sure. This is like going, like I said, I'm just kind of spiraling. Like I realize what's happening. I'm just like, well, I'm not stopping this train. We're going down, baby. And then we do.
Yeah, and I mean it's
So we
hard
figure out a way to come back
when
up.
you're in it. Like it can be really hard to like see the way to come out of it. You're just like, this is me. This is who I am now.
Yeah.
Well, one way to start doing that to like get through it, since both of you guys are manifesting generators, I'm double
Yes.
checking in my brain. Okay, yes, is movement.
Yeah.
So in order to release, like, screw reading. No, you're good.
No,
Screw
again,
reading, screw
this
happy music.
is
I literally mean do that fucking 10K. Like
yeah.
go run. Get process the energy. So it's not, since the sacral is defined, having that energy will start moving things out, especially for you, Sam, versus Ross, because Ross's is not connected to a sacral. Like I said before, since those two are all siloed by itself, it will take longer to process. And because it's a collective wave and what we're going through right now in the world, it's like one hit after another. It's like there's no pausing. So it's learning how to manage it and knowing like, okay, well, I need to move and I need to figure out where my happy place is. And if people don't, Ross, you brought it up in the beginning, like golfing. Golfing is your happy place. And so if
1,000%.
you're able to do that every week or every other week, or if you're even just able to go hit balls, but you then go run during the week instead, if you can't get off on a golf course, that stuff is going to actually help you better than staying up late and talking to people or going out and drinking or going out to a basketball game or playing video games. That will actually help you process those emotions faster and you gaining out of that to get level. And
Yeah.
then that level is then going to allow you to be like, oh my God, there's my next high, but I don't want to go too high because if I do, I might crash. So it's kind of also like understanding, like if you are in a high emotional wave, is acknowledging it and saying, I'm grateful for being in this high wave right now, but I know that I'll come down and I need to learn how to then hold that or learn how to process those high emotions in order for me not to just automatically somehow dip down into a deep spiral just because you found out the world is on fire in 5,000 dumpsters and whatever.
No, I feel very Icarus adjacent, but my brain is like, yeah, I flew that high last time and I got burnt, but let's try it again. This time's different. And
Because
I
it feels so good.
It does. It's the best. And I think only recently, you talk about movement. That's something that I know in my soul that works, that helps me. When I'm at my best, I'm being active with my body. Whether that's be walking, jogging, going to the gym, playing golf, whatever. And I know that my therapist has told me that's a good way to work through my stuff. And then you've told me that, and you don't know that I knew that or my therapist. I keep smiling because again, you're in my dojo. You're in my head. But yeah, that is 10,000% the way that I process through things. And I would say I struggled for about, Jesus Christ, a decade, because I got done playing college rugby and got into a relationship where I was really happy. And I was like, who needs movement anymore? I'm just going to sit right here. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to be happy. And it literally over the last, I don't know, 4 months, 3 months, I've been starting to get back into making movement a part of my everyday life and feel better as a result. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah.
It's silly.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I appreciate you, Ross, going into all of the details of your wave. And we're honestly like, there's so much more that we could talk about, but I need to definitely get into Sam's because we
Yes.
have 3.
Oh my. Oh my.
So Sam, in order to set us up, you have, the 3 emotional waves, in which I've said is a lot. Before knowing this, did you ever feel like your emotional landscape was more complex or, harder to track than other people's? We might have already touched on it, but just in case if you have anything else you want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like there was something wrong with me. I was like, why can I not just be in a neutral state all the time? Everyone around me seems fine. And I was just like, it's funny because I feel like I, for my whole life, would like shove things down and down and down and then explode. And I got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And then I went through like intensive therapy to at least learn how to like name the emotions and figure out where they were coming from. But the human design, like learning about my human design, I don't know, it helped me so much because it's different. It's like this is the way you are designed. Like it's not just like trauma or you're a Pisces or whatever. Like there's so much more to it, and it just made me honestly it makes me feel so much more like calm and like I can be who I am because it's okay.
Yeah, it validates you and your emotions, your experiences, all of you.
Yeah.
Well, are you ready to get in your waves?
Yes.
Okay, so if people are watching on YouTube, we just finished talking about Ross's wave right here. And now we're going to talk about Sam's first wave. And we're going to actually talk about 59 to 6, which is the mating wave, the channel. If you've listened to my episode with my husband, we have this as an electromagnetic channel. I'm going to say some things that are very similar to that, but when it is someone's full channel, it is a little bit more unique. So the channel of mating has gate 6, which is called conflict, or also known as the gate of friction. And then gate 59, we're just going to go ahead and call it sexuality. There's a few other names for it, but sexuality really helps with how this whole channel is described. But it will talk about bonding more than anything, because this channel literally penetrates others because it can it can cause people to be vulnerable and intimate at almost any time. That being said, it is easily misunderstood and misinterpreted. So people with this channel can break down barriers to open the way for intimacy and creating new endeavors. So when thinking about breaking down barriers with other people, someone that has this channel, they have to go first. When you are breaking down your own barriers and being vulnerable or intimate in the easiest way possible, it allows other people to do the same. That being said, the channel of mating overall is very masculine energy because it has the energy for resources, war, and of course, sex. All of these are areas that need clarity over time. And if you act without having that clarity or giving it time, you can lose all the resources that you've gained, and you can start fights when you don't even really want those things. This channel can be more aligned with providing, though, as well. It is something that I call or it's part of what's called a defense circuit. So when it's aligned with love, you can provide resources for yourself and others in the tribe. And it carries this energy of caring about other people, not nurturing. But at the same time, because of it being an intimate type of channel, it can be hidden. So others may not see it unless your natural sense of bonding and relating to others comes off in that intimate and vulnerable way. But if it's not, like I said, it's going to be easily misunderstood. So with anyone having this channel, or like, for example, Sam, if another person or something going on in her community, specifically friends, close family members, upsets either gate or even the theme of the channel, that emotion that you feel can get stuffed away, just like you were mentioning earlier, Sam. And then someone else does something and you stuff that emotion down, and then another, and just keeps on like compounding it. In a sense, you think, brain, once again, that you're handling it just fine, but your body's really building up a huge amount of emotion. And then next thing you know, someone breaks a promise, or they're not as vulnerable with you as you hope. And that just makes you, feel upset, like heartbroken, or it can come off as anger. So Sam, I know in the reading I gave you, I talked about how gate 6 really has to deal with discernment. Like, not everyone deserves your intimacy or your vulnerability. So you have to be safe with that person first in order to do that. How does that show up in your relationship with Ross? And how has understanding that wave changed the way you let people see who you really are?
Yeah. So, I mean, Ross and I, like we said before, we've been together for almost 20 years. Looking back on when we first met, it was immediately, like, we were very vulnerable with each other. But I mean, it took time before like we like had like true intimacy. And I mean, we were young too. But there's also, you were talking about so many things that are, again, continuing to click for me. Like this, the whole like not everybody deserves my intimacy is it, like a an active thing I'm working on right now. Because I want to be myself with everyone, and I can't. Yeah, I like, and it's, this is one of those things that I struggle with, and I'm like, well, if I'm not myself with everyone, then I'm lying, or but also I'm thinking about a lot of people that I've had like not even really close relationships with necessarily, but if it would it like I'll find myself telling them things about myself and that was clearly like I was just like in a flow, and I somehow knew that I needed to say those things. And then the next day I'll be like, what, why did I tell that person that thing? And then
Yeah.
they'll come to me later and they'll say like, well, since you were so vulnerable, it really made me think. And yeah, I ended up going, and I'm going to therapy now, and I realized that I need this medication because whatever thing. And there's so many like little situations like that that I could name where I said something vulnerable about myself, and then that person realized something about themselves, and they're not people that I'm like super close with or spend a lot of time with, but it was the right moment to say those things. Now, on the flip side of that, there have been times, I would say most with Ross, where I want to share something that I'm creating or an idea I have or something, and it doesn't feel right, but I will convince myself that I need to share it because, like, no, you said you were going to share this, and then I will, and he won't react the way that I want him to, and then I'm hurt.
I'm sorry.
That's going to be a different wave.
Oh,
That's a different wave.
You
This
just
is where
really-
sometimes they get confusing because they're very similar. So what you were describing earlier, though, of like you talking about being vulnerable and open and whatnot, and someone had a wonderful positive reaction, that's amazing. Gate 6 is 70% of my personality. And when I kind of call Gate 6 like, well, if I really want to dive into it personally, I would call it the hangover gate, where I wake up the next morning and I'm like, holy shit, did I really say all that stuff to so-and-so? Oh no, what are they going to think about me? Oh no. And later on, they took a one word I said and made a whole story about it, and they'll go gossip, or they'll totally think I'm this person, or they take it like you and they'll be like, oh my gosh, she was open and vulnerable, and they want to use that to better themselves. So like Gate 6, when this is actually an electromagnetic channel, it's actually best for that because it acts as a Gate 6 will act like a drawbridge, and that's how they put the boundaries up. Is like, I'm feeling out this person, they're making me not feel comfortable. No, I'm putting that boundary up. I'm not going to share this thing, or I'm not going to pursue this creative endeavor because this person has been flaky in the past, or they've broken these promises, et cetera, et cetera. So like that will help you with connection with other people, versus the other one, which we're going to get into next, is like the self-expression, that creativeness. That's the anger. So we'll get into that in a moment. But when I share that back to you about setting boundaries with Gate 6, what, I know this is not a question I was planning to ask you, but like, what comes up for you for that?
It makes a lot of sense, and it is definitely something that I feel like I'm kind of playing with right now. I do think that there was a level of me needing validation from people, like external validation. And so then I was just like, I'm just going to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. and I'm getting to a place now where I when I interact with others, I am much quieter and I'm doing a lot more noticing. And I almost wonder if like that's part of this where I'm like trying to feel into where we're at and if this is a person that is, worth opening up for, or if this is just a situation where I'm just having a conversation and I'm going to go
Mm-hmm.
home and you know have my own conversations with my regular people.
Yeah, exactly. And so like what's really fascinating is like how this is really leaning into your next wave. And I can't wait to like really get into that too. Ross, do you have anything to say about that channel for Sam before we move on? And if not, that's
Um,
no problem.
no, no. So, I mean, selfishly for me, hearing you call number six the hangover, like that is so validating to me because I've got friends that I've known, I mean, since kindergarten. And I was lucky enough to live with both of them in Lincoln for about a decade. And like that hangover feeling is like, why when it was last call did I take 2 shots before I left? I didn't need that. I'm so stupid. And like I'll hang out stone sober with my guys, and then the next morning I'll be laying in bed like, oh, I took that joke too far, and I hurt somebody's feelings probably, or they think I'm stupid. It's just that really like locks in, makes a lot of sense to me. But yeah, with in regards to Sam, I think it was a lot of what comes to mind is a lot of your coworkers, people that you like saw for a limited time. You weren't always in the office, but then you'd go in there and talk to them and be vulnerable in front of them. And they all kind of we had a little like mini epiphany session where people were like, oh, well, I should do this or I should make this change. And thanks for opening that door for me to go explore that part of my life. So yeah, I think that really sits home and makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say is I'm looking at my notes from this emotional wave, and one thing I wrote down was tactful honesty help break down
Mm-hmm.
barriers. And I said to Ross before, I'm really bad at this, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" He
Yeah,
was, and he
you wrote
said,
down tactful. I think sometimes you mean brutal. Brutal honesty.
Yeah, that's great. Keep going.
but it's funny because he brings up his friends and how honest I am with them. And I think sometimes because they're like I know them through him, I don't realize how like they're my people too.
Hmm.
And I am completely comfortable being brutally honest with them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And oh, I'm having like a spiritual thing. My head's lighting up right now.
Hmm. Hmm.
Say it.
I don't think I realized this is something, and I feel like this is under the surface of all of this, is that I struggle with relationships so much because I want them to be a certain way and they're not, and then I get my feelings hurt and then I get angry.
Oh
And
man.
then and I have to go through this whole thing, and then usually I just need to be alone and like let the emotion, I'm assuming it's an emotional wave, and then I'll come out of it and I'm like, what the hell was that? Everything's fine.
Exactly. And just for context for people here too, like the reason why I asked Ross is because Ross also has gate 6, and in their relationship reading, that's considered a compromise channel where Sam dominates this entire energy of the channel and Ross still has gate 6. And so what's wonderful, Sam, that you are able to say, okay, when I'm comfortable around Ross's friends or I've been around them long enough, Ross probably makes you feel comfortable enough to be able to share and be vulnerable with these people, because I actually brought that up in my reading with Brad, where when we're with his friends, I can be, as soon as Brad starts getting comfortable and opening up and the energy starts to shift, I can share a bunch of stuff. And then sometimes I do have the, oh crap, I should not have shared that in the next morning, but I'm getting better of noticing what's coming up to discuss and be like, do I want to share that or do I not? I like to also note that like earlier, Ross, you asked, like, can I cuss on the podcast? Like, one of my things is that when I'm really being myself and being more vulnerable, I actually cuss.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not out of anger. It's because I trust you. I have this. And for Sam, when you're talking about why it might be hard for you to actually form these relationships, like in Sam's chart, I know I'm not showing it here, but she's a 6.1, and 6.1 with that line is about retreating. So that's like being maybe a little bit more cautious about those relationships. But Ross has 6.1 and 6.3 in his chart elsewhere. And so he needs trust and allegiance. 6.3 is allegiance, which is what I have. And that makes it being like, I need to be able to trust these people that I can either be myself or say these things. And Sam can tap into that as well. So this channel is complex for your guys' relationship as well as it's complex in a sense for an emotional wave. And I'm glad that you're playing with it, because honestly, I mean, none of this stuff is something that you're going to learn overnight. It's just something that's always going to ebb and flow. Now, moving on to the second channel, your next emotional wave is the channel of openness, which is right here, which is from the throat center. So gate 12, which is known as caution or standstill. And then gate 22, which is also known as openness, or can also be called grace. And that is in the solar plexus. So this channel is deeply emotional and has to wait for the right mood to speak. With this channel, your focus is to be listening and articulating the depths of your emotions that you experience. I would also say that this is where you do express creative endeavors. You want to express yourself here, and you want to talk about your feelings, your creative contributions, and what is unique to you, but only when you're in the mood to do so. So when your mood is right, your message is heard, and it can be literally transformative for yourself and for other people. But if you try to communicate when you're not in the mood, it comes off as anger. This emotional wave will have like short bursts of emotions, both going up and down. You may feel like the lower part of the wave is sadness, but if you can actually sit in that emotion, it's going to help you gain further wisdom. So unlike your first emotional wave right here with the channel of mating, this channel is not about bonding. It's more about expressing yourself. So you have to really honor your moods for you to use this channel correctly. If you don't, like I said, you're going to fall into anger or out of alignment for you. So this is why learning to wait is really going to help you make a difference. What I would also say is that what is unique to the channel, it really doesn't matter what your energy type is or what your strategy or your authority is. You just really have to wait and then remember to inform someone or inform anyone that's going to be affected by this, and then express your emotions or express yourself. Because, and another thing to note, honestly, because sometimes people get this tripped up, informing is not asking for permission. And in the reading, I was pretty clear of this, and I really feel like this is something that can happen in a lot of relationships. But if you're not in the mood to go somewhere or do something, you are allowed to cancel. You just have to inform the other person. So how has learning that changed how you communicate your needs, especially to Ross, since he is way more social in his design than you are, typically?
Yeah. This one I feel like has been the most impactful. Like I've worked on this one the most, and I've been able to just be in more of like a flow. You know, when I get into those low spaces, I try and name the emotion, figure out where it's coming from, and then either it will kind of just like move on, or I'll know that I need to just rest, take a nap, wake up, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go again. And with our relationship, it's been a lot of just like telling Ross like where I'm at, how I'm feeling, how the day's going, how I'm feeling about different situations, and trying to figure out, because there's certain situations that are easy for me to say like, no, I'm not going to do this, I don't feel like doing this. And then there are situations where I'm like, okay, I don't know, I feel like I need to do this. And Ross is like always like if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Like he, you know, he knows me well enough. He's been around long enough to know that if I do the thing that I feel like I don't want to do, it's going to impact me negatively for a long time. It's going to burn me
True.
out. But also this is one that we had talked about that we still really do struggle with, because Ross is really extroverted and wants to do all the things, and like he wants to have his friends over, but he also wants to respect me and my space. And so there is a lot of like compromise that ends up happening, and we're still kind of figuring that out, because you know there are times where you know, I want him to be able to do the thing that is going to make him happy, and then say like, okay, I'm going to need like days of alone time to get back to myself after this. But for the most part, we haven't done like, it's all been about me, and then he just like has to go extrovert elsewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair. Lots of trips
Well,
with
yeah, and I'm.
people.
Oh, go ahead, Ross. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say that she's the same kind of hit it on the head. Normally, the extrovertness has been outside of the house, away from Sam's energy, rather than here. But also, like the people that I did host more than not have also moved away, so that helps protect your energy a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing is too is that if you don't want to do something, the curious part is to say, are you expressing yourself and feeling comfortable expressing yourself as who you are before these situations are actually happening? So like you're working on showing up as who you really are, and that's like more in depth of your personal reading and that authenticity piece, and more of things that we're not going to get into in this podcast. But the more that you are you, what might be interesting is to see how this self-expression unfolds. So not, I mean, I know you mentioned it earlier in the podcast of like saying, if I don't act like myself, am I lying? And this and this. And it's like, no, it's like protecting your energy, and it's setting up energetic boundaries. It's saving that energy for the people that deserve it. So that you're not basically leaking out energy from other people, but you're still expressing yourself in a certain way, because silence is still an expression, Sam. And like saying no is still an expression. And by you doing your own creative work behind the scenes. I mean, I know there's many times that we've been on Marco Polo and you're like, my guides don't want me to tell you what I want to play with or experiment with. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. And at the same time, I'm like, but what mood are you in? Are you in the mood to share this like crazy creative epiphany and then be able to block out? Because here's the other thing about gate 12 is that it is the gate of the left ear, and it's very stubborn. It is not going to give two shits about someone else, what they're going to hear, if it's really believing in what they have to say. So like, I remember when you sent me a Marco earlier of like, you talk to me about human design like every day, this and this, and Ross has only watched this twice, and it just like sinks into him. And I was like, well, it's because of gate 12. And I don't mean that in a bad way. You are super focused on doing and creating in this thing, and that sometimes whatever other people say, it just might be like raindrops hitting the windshield. It's like, oh, I see it, it's there, I'm gonna wipe it away, and it comes back later on of like on your face when you're out in a rainstorm, and be like, oh, I can actually experience this more. How does that track?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And also like I have so many interests and things that I'm like want to learn. And when I'm in that, like I'm learning about trees right now. And so when people are telling me other stuff, I feel like I'm like, okay, are you done?
Yeah, and that's a manifesting generator side of you too, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so let me see here. All right, so now let's get into your third wave. This is the channel of community with gate 37, called Friendship or the Family, located in the Solar Plexus, and up to gate 40, which is in the Heart Center, and that is known as loneliness. Here you want to know where you fit in, and this channel kind of awakens that for you. It's all about finding the right people to bond with in order to create harmony in the community, but it has to be based on fairness. If these, the fairness creates these bargains and agreements, and if they're not maintained in a clear and open way, the bond does break. And this can be practical agreements too, of like you said you're going to be home at 10, like something like that. So instead of trying to figure out where you fit in, the trick is really here to be you and see who naturally either invites you in or who's attracted to you. So just like the mating channel with gates 59 and 6, this is an area where you can stuff emotions down and down and down until someone breaks an agreement, and you will lose it either in heartbreak or anger. Once again, like you mentioned earlier, honesty is the best policy. So sharing at the right time, especially before the emotions start rising up, will reduce any sort of stress around the agreement, the bargain, or the person in general. So Sam, gate 40 says what you might have felt as loneliness has actually been a need for you to rest. How has that reframe landed for you? And what does it change about how you ask for alone time, especially with Ross, even though you ask for it probably a lot?
This one is really huge. The loneliness thing, like I feel like in the past week, this one has come up a lot, and I realized where I was reaching for connection when I didn't actually need that, and I needed to just like be still. And because I mean, there's a time where it's like I get to this place and I'm like a little restless, and I'm like, what do I need? What do I need? And so then I reach out to somebody who I know is going to be available. I spend time with them. I'm fucking drained. And then I come home, I'm like, why the hell did I do that? And so again, when I start feeling that need to reach out to somebody where it feels like it's out of the blue, where like I'm like, no, I'm in my phase of like creating, like why do I feel like I need to reach? And this is again where I'll go, you know what, I'm gonna see if I can take a nap, or I'll meditate, and then I come out of it, and again I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do the things. I'm ready to create and move forward.
Yeah, and the reason why this one it might be a little bit tricky for you, but you're able to adapt really quickly, is you're noticing the pattern of every time I reach out to someone, when I feel this like restlessness, I have a energy drain. And so it is your unconscious wave. So you can recognize the intimacy and need to be vulnerable here, and then you can be here open, but you also need to like understand like your expression, and feeling validated for it. But with this one, it's like, where'd this come from? I can't see it very well, which is the same as Ross. Ross might not be able to, like you said, you really can't see it, but you can name it now.
Yeah.
So for you, it's like for Sam, like thinking about, okay, I'm feeling this need to reach out to someone. And if this is about really showing up as who you are, it's like, okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Okay, why is that? It's even going a little bit further backwards and reflecting of like, where did these feelings of feeling restless come from? Was I doing something that's totally myself, and I might have expressed myself in a way that is wonderful, or now I'm wondering if I'm in the hangover feeling, like, because this is the crazy thing. And I wouldn't say never. I have yet to fully explore someone that has this many waves, because you could be in multiple waves at the same time. And that is where things get confusing. So you could have done 59 to 6, said something, been overly vulnerable, and felt like, oh shit, I should never have said that. And then you feel restless, and all of a sudden you're like, my community or my tribe might not like me if I say that. And you reach for someone that you know is going to validate that experience for you. And so you move into the community because you're like, I need to go share. I need to go be with someone. I need to be this. And then you're like, why am I so energetically drained? That makes sense.
Yes. Also, I feel like this one is, it's almost like I will have this deep yearning to not live the life that I live in this capitalist society. And I'm like, I don't want to work for someone else. I want to do my business. I want to spend time with the herbs. I want to take care of people doing and I'm like, I'll feel this like, I don't know, feral scream coming from within. And I feel like it's tied to this one. And that's why it's really hard. And I'm like, I have to fill this up with other people. So because it's too big and too heavy, and I'm getting emotional thinking about it. I'm like, I can remember like a moment of, like sitting out in a prairie, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Of course I'm crying. And like, just like not able to grasp onto like what's happening. And it's because I'll get to this place and I'm like, no, this is wrong. Like the way I'm living is wrong. And then I'll have to go through and get to the point where I can go, okay, what can I do? What can I actually do? I have to, make money to pay bills. Where can I start working towards these other things that are going to fill me up and feel right for me and how I want to live in this world? Does that make sense? Okay.
Of course it does. Yeah, and also ride the wave right now because you're expressing yourself and you're in a place where people are validating you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, Molly. Sorry.
Rock, paper, scissors. No, I'm just kidding. So Sam, I will say that part of it though is then also you noting like if it's capitalism and being around it, it's also saying, okay, what part of my tribe is doing it that everybody's got to make money, but if there's people that aren't in alignment with your agreements of what things you desire in a world and in humanity, even this for Ross too, is like, yeah, I might have to spend less time with them, or I might have to put more boundaries up. I might have to put that drawbridge up just because I know that I'm not going to be able to be super close to them. But at the same time, like if they are accepting, I can express myself, but knowing that maybe they're not going to be part of my long-term community. Those are I mean, this is where this complexity of the three waves comes in. It's kind of like a braid. Like, how are we going to interweave all of them in order to make one singular emotional wave that you kind of have to ride through? If that even makes that metaphor even makes sense. But Ross, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I think Sam's done a lot better job about recognizing a need for rest and calm and quiet. She talked about a feral scream being inside of her. And a lot of times, Midwest values, we're grinders. I've got a small business, push, go, go, go. And when she does that internal feral scream that she's talking about, where's my microphone? It comes out. It comes out angry. And I think that now that you're more cognizant of that, and when you recognize the kind of beginning stages of that, you're like, okay, let's pause, let's look inward, let's take a nap, let's meditate, let's slow down. I think that's probably helped you kind of buck that negative energy a lot quicker now as a result.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, though, Sam, since your sacral is connected to your solar plexus, moving, whether that's taking 2 hours long walks in the park like you do, or if it's like, screw it, I'm going to go to a spin class, or I'm going to go do yoga. Like, moving your body every day is going to also help remove those emotions that you've stuffed down for years.
Yeah.
No, I was telling my dad yesterday, we were driving back from the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, from golf, and he was asking about Sam, and I said, Sam's 37 going on 87 because she goes to bed super early, she wakes up super early, she's been going on walks and moving and doing yoga. There's a big hole in her living room right now from where she's been moving her body. And then, I'll call her on my lunch break and be like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm going to lay down for a nap. I just need a little recharge. So she's doing both right.
So I'm really happy that you guys just were able to discuss all of what was coming up for you with these emotional waves, what you've been able to learn and see not only in yourselves, but in each other and how that affects in your relationships. I know in the relationship reading, I talked about you guys informing each other in the midwave, saying like, I'm not done processing, or I will get back to you, instead of shutting down or, having a reaction. Have you guys actually tried that? And if so, like what happened?
Okay, so I'm just thinking specifically of when we were both in emotional waves the other day, and I said, I can't have this conversation right now. And Ross was like,
So why not?
why not?
We're calm. We're chilling.
And I was like, we need to wait. We need to pause. We need to have this conversation later. And Ross was in his emotional wave, so he was like, well, if we don't have it now, we're never going to have it. And then what happened? I ended up screaming.
And I sat there like Arrested Development, Job, and he was just like looking. It's like, I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah. It was funny because you were just like, there was just no reaction. You were just like,
Yeah,
yeah, this
for
is
sure.
happening.
Yeah. You said this is what I need, and I said, "But what about my feelings? Let's talk about me." And that was the incorrect choice. Yeah, I didn't make space. So my bad.
It's okay. We're learning.
We are.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So then with Ross, was your wave really, really high, or was your wave really low that you're like, I want to talk now? Really low. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. It was low, and I was like, we're just like right now, like we're just talking. Like there's no emotions here right now. We're chilling. But yeah, like I said, I didn't leave space for her, so that was on me.
So then this goes back to a question when we actually took a pause and we weren't going to, like, it wasn't going to be on the recording. You asked, like, well, why don't I have gate 59? And this is so when you have a channel or a gate coming off and wanting to connect here, it's called a hanging gate, and it always wants to bond with 59, like any gate or whatever. So like here, Sam's 36 wants to connect up here to 35. I know people can't see it, but that's what it is up there. So sometimes the desire is really there. Like you're wanting to be vulnerable. You're wanting to bond, or like maybe you're like wanting to pursue sexual intimacy. And Sam's like, no, we are not at all talking about this. We're not doing that. And you're like, but why? I want to be close to you. I want to share something. How's that land?
We had talks last week during my lunch break before your nap about how we're gonna like really be cognizant about talking about physical touch and cuddling and holding hands and sitting on the couch together. So I think we're making that more of a focus of just not like everything's spontaneous and go. The mood is struck, fire. So yeah, that lands a lot because there's always that, like I said, want for those two to be talking at all times. But we have to be a little bit more diligent about it and communicate a little bit better on it.
Yeah. What's interesting too is that we got this reading from you and we're talking about all of these things, but we weren't specifically like talking about our emotional waves. But it's like when we are talking about these things and they're on our minds, then it's like we just automatically start having these conversations without being cognizant of it. And it's cool to see how that has kind of like interacted and is moving forward without thinking about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like one little thing of you guys talking about physical touch, like with gate 59, and I have this in the episode with Brad and I, is like, it is the gate that is like all over the place. So like if you are a 59.4, you are like, I need to be friends with this person before I really can have a relationship. And like even 59.6, it's like, one night stand. That's exactly what I want to do. And so it has a wide variety of how it approaches relationships. And I think Brad is a 59.1. And so it's very like, go after it. energy, but it has to read gate 6 to know if it's right to do that. One of the really simplistic ones that I didn't really think I needed in my relationship with Brad, but it's been awesome, is like, and I know this is so ridiculous of me. I've never seen the full movie of The Notebook.
Okay. No, no.
Yeah, I know.
Here. It is good. Would recommend.
Yeah, yeah. So Brad likes to hold my hand when we go to sleep. And so much so that now we need to do it every time we go to bed because otherwise I don't fall asleep. So we hold hands delicately before all of a sudden I hear him lightly sleeping or snoring, and then I squeeze it and we lean over and kiss, and then we're done. But like that little comfort is insanely helpful for our bond. And it doesn't have to be sex. It's just intimacy briefly. Because what intimacy looks like for you guys is completely different for what other people too. So how you're exploring that right now, and in fact that being an emotional wave is wonderful. I can't imagine what's going to come from that.
No, that's first of all, it's very adorable, and I love that. No, and just not seeing them connect too makes a lot of sense because too, physical touch is my love language, which I kind of hate because I'm just like, I'm a guy, physical touch, intimacy, blah, blah, blah. And whether it's sex or just physical touch, holding hands, arm around each other, stuff like that, there'll be this like locomotive engine that's like push towards that. That's what's going to make us happy. And then when the time comes to actually do it, there's a lot of times I'm like, I don't know if is this right, and I get really gun shy. So the fact that they're not connected on the chart makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, then, like thinking about you two as, I mean, this is the whole reason part of this podcast why I thought of like having you guys come on to talk is that with having two people having emotional authority, this means that decisions sometimes need the waves to run their course before clarity arrives. But like sometimes life can't wait. So how do you navigate that in real life as of now, since you guys have kind of determined this?
Yeah. So I feel like I've talked before about how it seems like Ross, his emotional wave, like it takes longer. And almost always when I bring an idea to him, he's like, no, that's not going to work. Oh, why would we do that? And
Really? Oh no.
Well, because you need time.
Oh yeah, true.
And I in the beginning would get very frustrated or hurt or like just sad, and I've realized that I can come up with an idea and be like, I think this room would be better if it was this color, and then go buy the paint and start painting, and then it's great.
Yeah.
And
you've also been like, hey, here's an idea, here's something that I'm asking you to think about.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, can I tell you something now and we can discuss it later? And giving me time to mull it over because my brain likes to play both sides of the coin on every decision, whether it's should we move and leave Lincoln or like what clothes should I wear today? It's so dumb and it frustrates the hell out of me sometimes, but you giving me more space to like come to a decision that I believe in rather than in the moment has helped too.
Yeah.
Well, and what's fascinating too is like you guys' profiles. Like Sam, you're a 1-3, and Ross, like I mentioned before, you're a 5-1. The fact that you guys both have 1 in your profile, that's like the researcher. You're going to need some time to research to make decisions as well. So like when Sam's like, I think this pink color would be nice in here, guarantee you Sam has been freaking looking at different things and getting inspiration and seeing that and letting that soak in. And you're like in La La Land when she's like, I want to paint it green.
Yeah.
And you're like, where did this come from? And it's because she has been doing her own research, but that would make sense of like why you need to sit with it. Cause you might want to be like, well, what shade of green? Is it going to be pea green? Is it going to be vomit green? Like whatever. Is it going to be forest green? Mm-hmm. So yeah, that makes sense why it might take a little bit longer. And it's wonderful to see how you guys are already like building in that. But of course, like you guys have been together for almost 20 years. So it makes sense that you already kind of know that about yourselves. Was there anything in the reading that surprised you, something that you were not able to describe or share before?
For me, it was just my pretty lack of ability to recognize when I'm in a wave. Like I said, I thought I was my own emotional captain. And the fact that I am not necessarily as touched in with myself as I thought I was, is eye-opening, and it makes me a little bit more lenient on Sam, which is good because she sees me better than I see myself sometimes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, one thing that I feel like I'm learning, um, I don't know if it's specifically from this reading or just like having conversations with you about human design, is like how emotions are a good thing, and the anger and expressing and yelling is a good thing. Like having the space to express that. And I feel like I'm looking at other people differently now
Yeah.
because I'm seeing like, oh no, they just needed that. They needed to get that out. They needed to express that. That's part of
Hmm.
being human. We can't be zombies all the time. We have to like scream and cry and yell sometimes.
Yeah. Another huge thing from me looking at Sam is how important and impactful rest is. Because, like I said, Midwest mindset, grinding. I'm in sales, so it's production, production, go, go, go. And that's where I tend to get a lot of my energy is being around people and pushing and moving. And then, like I said, that feral scream, if you don't take time, it comes out. It comes out with aggression. So yeah, recognizing how important that is has been very eye opening.
Yeah, and one thing, like being able to express that is huge. And I'm glad that you said that, Sam, because it kind of reminds me one of the issues with having a defined solar plexus is that we have the conditioning, or anyone that has that, the conditioning of like, you always have to feel happy. And for those of us that have it undefined, we're like, we feel shit all the time. And we know, like, we get lost in it because we don't know if this is emotion is mine or if it's someone else's, or we walk into a room and we feel that it's icky and we can't stand it, or we walk in a room and we're like, I need more of this, or going to a different location. But in order for you to sit with the emotions and really realize, like, it's okay to be angry, and we've been conditioned as a society in general that that's not okay. And depending on your gender, depends on if that's okay, or your race and all this other stuff. And so having that saying of like, I just need to let this emotion out. It's not who I am. I'm letting it move through me as a wave. And I know, like, even science, it's like 90 seconds is the longest that one emotion can stay with you. If you don't let that happen, you're going to have a variety of emotions on top of it. So I'm really glad you brought that up. Just in case if anybody hasn't listened to that in the Center's podcast, like, just know that that is completely healthy to do express your emotions in a healthy way, even if it's screaming at your husband in a nice way.
Yep.
So, for anyone listening who's in a relationship and has never experienced human design, like, what would you want them to know about the value of understanding how you and your partner are designed?
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that I keep using the word validation over and over and over again, and it's like I keep bringing up therapy too. So the amount of information that I've gotten from therapy that's changed my life, and how getting this reading and looking at the waves and looking at our gates and what's impactful in my life and what I should and shouldn't be doing. It's just validating everything doctors have told me basically throughout my whole life. This is something that I wish I would have known about or dove in deep with you, Molly, 10, 15 years ago, because I feel like I could have been living my life in a much more calm, productive, and happy way. So, like I was saying earlier, I'm not sure if this was pre-recording or not, but our reading is something that I'm going to go back on and run through for years and years and years to come. It's super validating, and it's like there were wires in my brain, like an old switchboard from the 30s or 40s, that were all jangled and in a big knot. And I feel like the more I learn about this, the more they become untangled and clicked into the right spot.
Mm.
Yeah. I feel like there's so much to the reading because we each have our own individual things that we can notice within ourselves. And like that feels like step one. And when we recognize like when we're well, at least for me anyway, like when I'm in my emotional wave or I'm dealing with something, I can change how I interact. I can say, "Hey, I need time. I need to go for a walk. I need to just be alone to let this process or let this go through its wave." And then there's the interaction part of it that where it's just it I feel like it's making things so much easier. And also when I do have like when we did have the yelling, I don't feel guilty about it the way that I would in the
Mm.
past
Yeah.
because I'm like this is part of it. Like this happened because of these things and if we can have the space for it, it doesn't have to get to that point in the future. We can go through our waves and then we can come together and have the conversation from a good place,
Yeah.
when it's the right time.
Yeah, and one last piece here is I'm not super proud to admit this, but even though I'm married to, this woo-woo ass chick over here, I'm pretty skeptical about all this stuff, right? And so, I know Molly's a very intelligent person, but I went into this reading with a good dose of skepticism, and it's just like it was insane how quick that was all washed away, and how much this more than a lot of things in that world that I don't know or don't understand about how much this really clicks in and really makes a lot of sense. More than almost anything that we've discovered recently.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just been great.
I love that for you, Ross. And I know that in the relationship reading, I was getting really hard on you in a different section
That's
and
great.
how jealous I was of part of your chart. So, you, whenever you get the chance to lean back into the integrated network, you might be my new case study.
Okay.
So,
Happy to keep educating me. I'm in.
wonderful. Well, I love that for both of you, but like if you were to say to one thing to each other right now in front of everyone listening, what about this self-awareness journey with human design? Like what would that be?
I'm I'm just really excited to see like as we continue to grow, like how things evolve. I have always talked about our relationship in a way where like the 18 and 19-year-old Ross and Sam are very different people than we are now. And I always felt so lucky because we both like we weren't changing together. We were both like developing on our own, but like side by side. And I
Yeah.
feel like this just adds to that. But then we also now have like context for how our relationship like can intertwine
Hmm.
and how our like waves can intertwine. And I'm just like I'm like now that we have this information, I think that like the I things are just gonna get better and better and better. And um I don't know, I feel I'm like seeing like explosions like ooh fireworks.
Absolutely. No, and you reference 18, 19-year-old Sam and Ross, and we have been together for almost 20 years. And what this really reminded me of, and I kind of have fallen on my own laurels. We've been doing this for 20 years, pretty locked in. We know what works, we know what doesn't. And I think that caused a little bit of stagnation with our relationship, not in a bad way necessarily, just like stick to what we know.
Yeah.
And this just has been a really good reminder of like there's so much more that we can educate ourselves on. There's so much more that we can learn, and there's so much more enrichment that can come to our lives as a result of being more in touch with ourselves, and me being more in touch with my waves, you with yours, and us knowing about each other's at the same time. So yeah, there's so much more that we can do, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love that. And I really appreciate you both coming on, especially because, like, I don't really have any other men on the podcast other than my husband. And having another person that is another person that's emotionally aware and has done the inner work is huge because that's the other thing is that if you don't do the inner work and you get this reading like it's going to put a spotlight on what you need to work on, right? And the fact that you two have already taken so much of that on before having a human design reading, you guys are the couple that could be examples for everyone that's around you of like what you really can do and how you really can grow as a person and side by side, because that doesn't always happen in a relationship. And that's really something that's glorious to have. And so if listening to Sam and Ross made you wonder, first of all, if you have emotional authority or how your emotional waves may be impacting you in your relationships, you just might want to get a relationship reading. So I review your 2 charts, I create a reading, and then I record it for you. And when it's complete, I email you a link so that you can view and download it, as well as a written report. So you can learn more about these readings within the show notes. Please know that I actually don't just do this as a one and done. I don't just look at your chart. I look at your chart in a variety of times. I will do an overview and then I'll come back to it a few days later. I will have inspiration. I'll have things I want to experiment with. And so the process of me doing this readings does take a little bit of time. So that means I also have a limited amount of them per month. If you're listening to this episode in August or September of 2026, I will not be having any relationship readings available until late September or early October, because my husband and I are moving to Portland, and that's a whole thing.
Yay!
Yay! So my hope is to actually have a report that you can go to my website and put your information in for you and your partner and download a connection chart for you to purchase. But it's not going to be as in-depth in my relationship readings, because you kind of heard me already talk about Sam and Ross's profile types. We've talked about like the compromise channel of the mating channel for Sam as her emotional wave. We talked about how both of them are manifesting generators a little bit. So like everything gets a little bit more personal than just looking at the little bits and pieces. So you can always find out more information in the show notes and by going to my website. So Sam and Ross, I greatly appreciate you guys joining me today. This was really fun, and I'm very glad that I'm going to edit out some stuff that we definitely don't want the other people hearing. But it was great to have it anyways. So thanks again for you guys joining me.
Pleasure is all ours,
Yeah,
Molly.
thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Thanks for doing all the work. This has been eye-opening in so many really, really, really positive ways.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. All right, ladies, so much information that I hope you were able to dive into, and I will be back in your earbuds again soon.